we got the Exam 1 review video. Alright, first question. We're asked to rewrite this subtraction problem as an addition problem. So remember that when you are doing this, all you're doing is adding a plus sign directly after your first number. So to rewrite this as an addition sentence, I would have 7 over 8 plus minus 2 over 3. Okay, so notice that the only difference between those two is I added my plus sign right here. Okay, so plus sign again goes right after the end of your first number. Next problem, we're asked to complete these two blanks based off the following number line. So the first blank is asking us to write a subtraction sentence. Okay, so this is going to be for blank 1. Let me get blue here. So for blank 1, if I look at my first arrow, it's going from 0 and it ends at 3/4. So my first number is going to be 3 over 4. And it wants to be subtraction, so I'm going to have a minus. Now each one of these tick marks goes by 1/4, right? So 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and so on. So if I start up here, this is going to go down 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 5/4. Okay, so it's going to go down 5 over 4. So I would want this expression for blank 1. And for blank 2 wants to know what our solution is. So wherever your dot is on the number line, that's going to be your final answer. So my dot is at negative 2 over 4, which means that my answer for blank 2 is going to be negative 2 over 4. Alright, next question asks us to find the difference in the simplest form. The easiest thing you could do for this one is plug it into a calculator. So I have 5 over 9. I'm going to subtract it from 2 over 19. And written as a fraction, to do that I hit this button right here. Whoops, I need my calculator back. 77 over 171. So again, just type that into the calculator and then hit that convert to fraction button. Next one, evaluate the expression, and I have these decimals here. Again, I'm just going to type this into a calculator. So 0.57 minus 0.49 tells me it is 0.08. So this is 0.08. Next one, it says that Gary buys 2.3 pounds of apples at the checkout, and he realizes that his apple pie recipe needs 4.8 pounds of apples. How many more apples does Gary need to buy? So his recipe needs 4.8 and he has 2.3. So to figure out how much more he needs, I'm going to take the difference of these two numbers. So 4.8 minus 2.3. And again, type it in your calculator because we're working with decimals. Don't make a silly mistake. 4.8 minus 2.3 gives me 2.5. So he needs 2.5 more pounds. Alright, based on the number line, which statement is true? So if I look here at C, C is at 2, and A is at -3, -4, -5, -6. Okay, so C is 2, and A is -6. So if I were to take all these answer choices and just plug into a -6 in for these and see which one works. So like here I would have 2 minus -6. That's going to give me +8, so it's not that one. And again, you can type these into your calculator. Make sure you don't forget those minuses. The second one is -2 minus -6. That would give us +4. That one's not correct. This next one is -6 minus 2. It's -8. Can't be that one. And then this last one, I have a -6 minus a 2, which gives us a +4. So I want to pick this bottom one here. So minus A minus C is positive. Alright, next question. So we have this expression, not an expression, we have this problem that's being solved for us, and we want to know which property are used to solve this equation. So remember, we had commutative and associative. Associative is changing parentheses, so adding parentheses, and commutative is changing the order. So if I look here at this first line to the second line, all of my fractions seem to be the same. However, they seem to be in a different order, which means that when I go from my top to my middle line here, I am using the associative property. And when I look from this second line to my third line, I'm adding a set of parentheses, which is my commutative. So for here, I'm actually using both. So in blank 1, for blank 1, I am using the commutative and my associative properties of addition. And blank 2 is asking for the sum, so to figure out the sum, I'm going to type that exactly into the calculator how I see it here, so with parentheses and everything. So I have 3 over 4 plus 1 over 4, and I'm going to subtract that from 1 over 8, which tells me that it's 0.87, or if I hit this, it will tell me it as a fraction. Which is 7 over 8. So for blank 2, here I'd have 7 over 8. Alright, next one. So we want to know which one of these applies the associative and commutative properties. So remember, we're looking for some numbers moving around and parentheses being added. If I looked at this first one here, this is my original expression right here, and there's only commutative property, right? So that one does not have both. Same thing with this one on the bottom. Again, commutative property, this one does not have both. Now on this one, if we look at all of these numbers, they're all exactly the same, but my answers at the very end are different. So to figure out which one is true, I'm going to type my expression into a calculator. So I have 3.4 plus 15.8 minus 8.8. And it tells me that it is 10.4, which means I want to pick the answer that has 10.4, which would be B. Next one, what is the sum of negative 78 and 13? Well, sum means addition, so all I'm going to do is add those two numbers together. So negative 78 plus 13, and type it into my calculator. So negative 78 plus 13 is going to give me a negative 65. So my sum here is negative 65. Next question is asking us to solve this problem here. I'm going to type this into a calculator exactly how I see it. So 11 over 15. I'm going to subtract in my parentheses. I have 1 over 5 plus 7 over 10. Close my parentheses. Hit this button to give it to me as a fraction, which is negative 1 over 6. So this is negative 1 over 6. Again, we want to solve the following. Okay, so for this one, type it into a calculator again with your parentheses. Make sure when you're typing it into your calculator, you're typing it in exactly how you see it. So negative 5 plus 8 tells me that it is 35. So the answer for this problem here is going to be 35. Next one. So we want to know which of the following expressions are equal to negative 46. So the easier way to do this is, again, to just type these into your calculator and see which one gives you negative 46. So to start from the top and go all the way down. Whoops. And be very careful with your signs in your addition and subtraction. Okay, double check it when you're typing them in. So this first one works. I got negative 46. Let's check the second one. Plus negative 82 plus negative 12. That one's negative 70, so second one isn't going to work. 24 plus 82 minus 12. Not that one either. Negative 82 minus negative 12 plus 24. That one works. Check this last one. 12 plus 24 minus 82. That one also works. So this first one, this fourth one, and the fifth one. So let's bring this over here. So this first one here, this last one, sorry, second to last one, and then the last one. So all of these gave me negative 46. And again, I just type them into your calculator. It's the fastest way. Alright, here's our next problem. So we want to determine the value of absolute value of negative 5 minus 3 using the number line below. Now in this one you technically don't have to use this number line if you don't want to. If you hit this button here, it gives you absolute value, and you can just type in that minus 5 minus 3, and it will tell you that it's positive 8. Okay, so on this one I just typed it into a calculator instead. I think it's a little bit faster, so this is just positive 8. If you wanted to use the number line, you would go back to 5, and then you would go back 3 more, which gives you negative 8, and the absolute value of negative 8 is just positive 8. Whoops. Alright, here's the next one, and we want to know which of the following expressions are equivalent to 12. And it tells you to use the number line again, but remember, we can just type this into a calculator, all these in, and see which ones give us 12. So from top to bottom. So I have 2 minus negative 10, negative 2 minus negative 14, negative 6 minus 6, negative 4 minus 8, negative 3 minus negative 9, and 10 minus negative 12. Sorry, negative 2. So again, we're looking for positive 12. So it looks like 1, 2, 3 of them are positive 12. These two are negative. We don't want negatives. We only want positives. So first one, second one, and the very bottom one. So on this one, we have the first one, the second one, and the very bottom one. So we can double check for those negatives to make sure when you're typing them in that you're not forgetting a sign. Next one. So we want to know, for blank 1 here is asking us what is the distance between these 2 points. Okay, so remember when you're finding the distance between 2 points, you're subtracting them. Okay, so I'm going to do negative 9 and 3 over 8 minus 1 and 5 over 8. Okay, so this is my answer for blank 1. Okay, that's my distance problem. For line 4, where I'm asked to find blank 2 over here, blank 2 is going to be the actual distance between the points, so it wants you to type this into a calculator and figure it out. However, if you look here, it kind of already did that for us with this minus 11, and this absolute value sign always makes the number positive, so the distance between these two fractions is going to be positive 11. And if you really want to, you can type this in. So if I hit the absolute value sign and do negative 9, I'm going to do a space, and then 3 over 8 for that mixed number. And I'm subtracting 1, I'm going to do a space, 5 over 8, and it does tell me that the distance between the 2 points is 11. So you can type this in, but you don't have to because of this part right here. Alright, next part wants to know which expression measures the distance between the same two numbers as the given expression. So here what it's looking for is it's looking for you to swap the order of your numbers. Remember that when you are finding the distance between 2 points, you have your absolute value of A minus B. Okay, so A here is our first number, which is negative 5. So A is negative 5.8. These minus signs go away, and B is my second number. B is positive 2.6. So if I were to swap the order, I'd have absolute value of 2.6 minus a negative 5.8. And part B is asking what is the distance between those two numbers. So I'm going to do negative 5.8 minus 2.6, which gives me a positive 8.4. So this is going to be positive 8.4. So for this first part A, it just wants you to switch the orders, but remember that since this first number is negative, our second number needs to also be negative with that extra minus sign. Alrighty, next one. So Stanley here's hiking in a national park, and he hikes from checkpoint A to checkpoint B. Notice that checkpoint A is a negative number, and checkpoint B is a positive number, okay? Part A is asking which verbal expression describes how to determine the change in elevation from A to B. Well, like we just said, checkpoint A is a negative 2.5 or 250, and checkpoint B is positive 250. So when we're asked to find the change in elevation between these 2 points, the change in elevation is the difference between 500 and negative 250 meters. Now for part B is asking the distance. Remember, distance is always positive, and those bars that we put around our distance expressions that make it positive, that's what we need to add. So that's the difference between change and distance. So the distance is the absolute value. That's what those bars are called, the absolute value of the difference between those two numbers again. So difference between 500 and negative 250 meters. And then part C is asking us what is the difference between them. So that's me taking my absolute value of 500 minus negative 250. And again, type that into your calculator. I'm going to shrink this a little bit now. So this symbol here is absolute value, 500 minus negative 250. It's going to give me a positive 750. So the distance between those 2 points is 750 meters. This is part C. All right, the next one. So here we have at the Badwater Basin, there's an elevation of 323 feet below sea level, and at Mount McKinley it has an elevation of 24,581 above sea level. So here's where you have to read the question carefully. If this is 322 feet below sea level 0, right? So if it's beneath that, this 323 is going to be negative. Okay, and this Mount McKinley has this elevation above sea level, so that 24,581 is going to be positive. Okay, so we want to select all the statements that are true. So this first one says that the expression 42,581 minus 323 is used to find the difference. Well, this isn't necessarily true because remember we should always have those absolute value signs around our numbers. So A is not true. B says that the expression negative 323 minus 24,581 can be used to find the difference. This one is the one we want. One, because it has those absolute value signs, and because this 323 is negative. C says that the elevation for Badwater Basin is negative 323. That is correct, right? That's what we have right up here. And this last part is saying, well, what is the actual difference in elevation? So to figure out this one, let's take that expression right here, negative 323 minus 24,581, and it's going to give us 24,904 feet. So that's the actual distance, or the difference between those 2 points. So E down here. Okay. So again, I just typed this into my calculator to get this last one. All right, we want to select all that are equivalent to 5/7. Again, on this one, type them into a calculator. So all of these fractions have 5/7, which means my numbers are going to be the same. What's going to be different is whether or not they're positive or negative. This fraction I'm given up here is positive, which means I'm looking for positive answers all throughout here. So again, type it in exactly how you see it. These are both negative. That gives me a -1, so it's probably not going to be that one. I'll expand this a little bit again. Let's check our second one, -5/7. Put the negative up top. Again, that one's negative. 5 over -5 over -7. That one is positive. Let's check this next one where I have a negative. This one is also positive, and 5 over -7. So I'm looking for ones that are positive because my original fraction's positive, and it looks like it's these two. These three are negative, so these two right here are the ones that I want to pick for this problem. So the third one and the fourth one. Third one and the fourth one. Alright, enter the fraction that is equivalent to 15 divided by -60. Enter your answer as a decimal. So this one I thought was kind of strange because it says enter the fraction, but then it says enter your answer as a decimal. So I think that might have just been a typing error. Pretty much what you want to do here is if you just type in that 15 divided by -60 into a calculator, you'll get your decimal that you type in. So 15 divided by a -60 is going to give you -0.25. So that's what you would type in for this problem here. Not that decimal, because your numbers are a little bit different, but that's how you would do that one. So you just type this into your calculator. Next one, again, so we want to know which fractions are equivalent to -2/3. So if you're not sure if this one's going to be positive or negative, you can type this in, so -2/3. And it shows you that it's a negative number, okay, which means I'm looking for negative numbers over here. So let's do that first one. I have -2 over -3. Positive, can't be that one. -3 over -2. Again, positive. Also notice this one's the wrong number, so don't pick that one. Next one, we have 2 over -3. That one's negative, so that one works. I have -2/3. And then the very bottom one, which is a -3/2. That one again is negative, however, it's the wrong number. Oops. Can I move this? It's not moving. It's weird. Why can't I move this? Interesting, I'll have to exit out. Okay, so for this one, what we'd want to pick are these two that are negative here. So that -2/3 and then -2/3. So these two right here. Next one. So it says here that Darwin owns 1,800 acres of land, and he wants to split the land into fourths and sell each section. Which expression shows how the amount of acres that each section will contain? So he has this land, right? So here is Darren's 4 acres. So here's 1 acre, 2 acres, 3 acres, and 4 acres. Okay, and he's going to cut it into equal sections. So if he has 1,800 total, and he's cutting it into 4 equal sections, what we'd want to do is divide this by 4. Okay, so I have 1,800 divided by 4. So which means that there's going to be 450 acres in each of these sections. So he's going to have 450 acres in each one of these sections. So one way that you can do this problem is once you know how many acres are in each section, you could just take your calculator and again type all of them into it and see which ones you get that are equivalent. So this first one, I have 1800 divided by 1 over 4. This is way bigger than what he started with, right? So it's not that first one. Next one is 18 times 4. That's way too tiny. Next one is 1800 divided by 4. That's a good one. That gives me that 450. Next one is 1800, oops, minus 1 over 4. That's way too big. Next one is 1800 times 1 over 4. That one also gives me 450. And the last one is 1800 plus 1 over 4. So it looks like the two that are correct are this 1800 times 1/4 and 1800 divided by 4. So I have this 1800 divided by 4 and 1800 times 1/4. Both of those gave me 450, which is how many acres are in each section. Alright, we want to know which of the following fractions gives a decimal as an answer whose non-zero digits repeat infinitely many times. So what this question is saying is which one of the following will give you a repeating decimal? That's what this question is asking. So again, type them into your calculator. 5 divided by 8, this one ends. 7 divided by 4, this one ends. 2 divided by 9, this one looks like it repeats 2 forever, right? All those 2's in a row. And this very last one, 11 divided by 10. This one also ends. So the repeating decimal here is going to be that 2 over 9. Whoops. So 2 over 9 is going to be the repeating decimal here. Next one's asking us to convert this fraction to a decimal. So let's type it in. 5 over 11. So I have 0.454545. So it looks like it's going to repeat 4, 5 forever. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're paying close attention here to pick the right one. So that bar over the 4, 5 like this means that that 4, 5 is going to repeat forever. We do not want to pick this one, A, because this is 0, 4, 5, 0, 4, 5, 0, 4, 5 forever. That 0 counts. It matters, okay? So we don't want to pick this one. This one has a 4 first. We don't need a 4 first because it's not 4.45 repeating, so not that one. And then this bottom one just makes no sense, so it's not that one either. Alright, next one. So we want to know which equation correctly simplifies the expression 192 over 16. Now if you notice, all of these say that it equals 12, and if you were to divide that, you would get 12. So if you were to type into your calculator here 192 divided by 16, you do get 12. Okay, so but the part that we need to look at on this problem is this right here. So the part right before where we get 12. So these parts right here that I'm underlining, this is what we need to check and type into our calculators to see if it actually does in fact give us 12. So if I check this first one, I have 190 over 16, and I'm going to add that to 2 over 2. This one does not give me 12, so this first one, it can't be it. Let's try the second one. I have 8 over 8, and I'm multiplying it by 24 over 2. That one gives me 12. Let's check this next one. So 176 over 16 plus 16 over 16. That one also gives me 12. And I'll check this last one. That's 8 over 16 times 24 over 16. That one's way small. So the two that we want to pick here are the two in the center. And again, so to figure for this problem, you need to look at the very last equation. So this middle one's a little bit trickier because there's also this here as well. But we're looking at the part right before the equal sign. Okay, the equal signs are kind of like barriers or like breaks. So make sure we're looking at this one carefully. Also notice that on this addition problem here, we have the same denominator. right? That's very important when we're adding fractions, so we have the same denominator there. The next one. So we have this expression, and it wants to know which best describes how to correctly simplify the expression. Now, there's a lot of description going on in this problem. However, notice that the very last sentence of all of these is different, where it says that the final answer has all different numbers, which means that if we figure out what this equals, we will know which answer is correct just based off of figuring out how much it adds up to. Okay, so I'm going to type it into my calculator exactly how I see it with parentheses and all. So I have 4 over 5 times 20, and I have 1 plus 2. And it tells me that it is 48, which means I'm choosing the answer choice that has a sum of 48 because that's what this equals. So this question looks like a lot, but just pay attention to your final answer. Okay, all the words on this question can be overwhelming, but all you need to pay attention to is that very last sentence and what number is in the last sentence. See which one equals this expression. Alright, next one. So we want to know which of the following are equivalent to 7 and 1/3. So for this one, again, you can type these into your calculator. So to do mixed number, you do 7 space and then 1 over 3. If I were to hit this button, it tells me it's 22 over 3. So I'm looking for any of these that will give me 22 over 3. First one is 1 divided by 22 over 3. Yes, it doesn't look exactly the same, but it does represent the same. However, that answer is not what we're looking for. Next one is 10 over 5 plus 15 over 3. Not what we're looking for. I have 10. I'm going to do a space. 2 over 3 minus 3 into space, 1 over 3. That one's close, but not quite. Oh, whoops. This is a subtraction. Ooh, there we go. See, that subtraction side made a difference. Make sure you double check it. And then I'm just going to check this very last one just to make sure. Plus 3 and 1/2. Yeah, this one's close, but not quite. So it looks like this one, that 10 and 2/3 minus 3 and 1/3 is going to be the answer that we want. So this one right here. And again, guys, hopefully you've noticed how many of these I've just typed into my calculator and it will tell me. Okay, so make sure you're using a calculator. I'll send out a link with this to the Desmos calculator when I send out this video. Alright, next one. So we want to know which expression has the least value. So least means smallest, right? So we want to see which one has the smallest value. So I'm going to type these in exactly how I see it. So I have 4 times -9. This is all over -2. Next one is 3 and 1 over 7 over -5 over 7. I have -3.6 times 10.5 minus 2.8. Oh, there we go. I was like, what's happening? Why is that like that? 2.8. There we go. And then we have -16 times 5 over 9. So when I look at these 4 numbers, remember this -27, that looks like it's the smallest, right? On a number line, that would be the furthest to the left. So this one here with the decimals would give me the least value. Right, this one was 18. This one was -4.4. This is a -27.72. And this one is -0.8 repeating. So this one is the smallest. Next one. So Marco ate half of his pizza on Monday night, then ate 1/4 of the remaining pizza on Tuesday. Which of the following expression shows how much he ate in total? So on the first night, he ate 1/2. So 1/2 of it is gone. Then on the second night, he ate a half of the half. Okay, so he ate a total of 1, 2, 3/4 of his pizza, right? So if I take 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/4, see, will that give me 3/4? Whoa, something weird happened there. Plus 1/4. That does not give me 3/4. That's bigger than 3/4, right? Let's check the second one. 1/2 plus 1/4. This one gives me 3/4. I have 1/2 plus 1/2 times 1/4. The next one, I have 1 minus 1/2 times 1/4. So with this problem here, I wonder, I might have copied the question incorrectly. Give me 1 second. So with this problem here, we want to pick this table, this equation, and the reason why is because it says that he ate 1/4 of the remaining pizza. In math, of is a key word to multiply. Okay, so if he ate 1/4 of the half that was left, he already ate 1/2 of it. So this is the expression that we would want to pick here. So the one with this addition and the parentheses around the 1/4. Alrighty, this is the last question. So Marnie bought 5 books for $68.75. 4 of the books were sports books and cost the same price. So that's important. So 4 books cost the same price. Okay, and the other book was a novel and it cost $7 less than each of the sports books. How much did each sport book cost? So here, given answer choices, it's very, very easy to work backwards. If you think about it, right, 4 of the books cost the same. So if the sports books themselves were $7, 7 times 4 is 28. 28 is way less than what she paid, so it can't be 7. 61.25. And I multiply that by 4. Times 4. That's $245. That's crazy, right? That's way too much. That she doesn't even have that much money. Which means that these first 2 answer choices here, these 2 I'm going to cross off immediately. Okay, it can't be either of those. So I'm left with these 2 here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both of these by 4, okay, and see which one gets me closest to 68.57 without going over. So 18.94 times 4, and then I have 15.15 times 4. Alright, this 15.15 gets me closest, right? It says that the other book is $7 less. So if I take 15.15, subtract 7, that would mean that the novel is $8.15. If all 4 of the sports books were $60.60, if I take 60.60 and add it to 8.15, I get how much she spent. So working backwards here is definitely easier. So she paid $15.15 in each of her, for each of the sports books. Alrighty, that is all I have. So please do not forget to use a calculator, okay? Preferably that Desmos one that I showed you, because you'll know how to use it. If you don't use the Desmos one, I can't necessarily help you because I don't know which calculator you're using or what functions it has. But if you have questions or would like a retake on your exam once you've taken it, please send me an email or message and I will gladly give you one. I hope you have a great rest of your day.